Good morning, Kate. I'm really looking forward to seeing and hearing all about the wonderful things you've been doing. Can you tell me where you're up to now?
Hi Diane, lovely to see you again. So we've done all the usual things, Diane, growing and planting. We've created some sensory tyres. So we've been able to reuse tyres that we repurpose from a local garage.
Very sustainable.
You know, the garage said it cost them £1 a tyre to get them removed, and then they're put into landfill, which they take a long time to break down. So yeah, very sustainable.
Fabulous.
And we filled each tyre with some natural materials. So we're looking at sand, bark, pebbles. We've planted some wildflower seeds in one of them, grass seeds in another. And it's just about the children exploring the different textures.
Sounds fascinating. It sounds really, really, really good. Tell me a little bit more about how you decided on which sort of materials to put in each of the tyres.
Well, we were just looking at cost-effective approaches. So it was more of materials that we might link to loose par play, so the children can explore texture and develop their imagination as well, Diane. We also included some pine cones as well, so there's a lot of different textures for children to explore, and we're hoping to maybe enhance this area with some small world resources as well, so that we can invite more play and encourage imagination through sense exploration as well. So
It sounds very sensorial. Imagine that the children were using all 5 of their senses in this project.
Yes, children helped to fill each of the tyres, and there was lots of language to do with weight and capacity as it fall. And the children all said the sand is the favourite one, so that natural element, the sand.
Oh wow, I wonder why. Did they say why?
I don't know whether it's the links to the beach, Diane, you know, and the fact that they can easily manipulate the sand, fill containers, and
Sounds absolutely fascinating, and it sounds as though you've been doing some sustained shared thinking in that process, with extending the children's language, with early literacy, early numeracy, in being able to describe the texture of the sound, but also feeling the weight. So it sounds like you've had a really, really successful sort of sensory tyre project. Have you done anything, though, that may be a little bit out of the ordinary in terms of sort of the project?
Well, the provocation was Hurricane Kathleen.
Oh.
When we arrived back to nursery after our Easter holidays, if you can remember, there was huge winds and hurricane throughout the northwest. So when we went out to visit our sensory garden, the children were devastated to see a lot of their hanging chimes and mobiles that they'd made were all tangled. And some of them we could salvage, but a lot of them we needed to cut down, Diane. So,
but looking at it from a positive, you could look at it and have a conversation about sort of from a sustainable development perspective of SDG 7 about the power of the energy of the wind and about how strong it is to be able to do things like that to their wind chime.
We talked about the force of the wind, and one child then made links with the storybook The Wizard of Oz, where the house gets lifted by the hurricane and carried over to Oz.
Gosh, that is really, really amazing. It's a bit like Margaret Donaldson talked about how children need to make human sense. And obviously those children had actually thought about what had happened in their reality, their real life experience here in Liverpool, but also linked it to a story they had heard and experienced. But there's another story that you could use as a provocation, which is the Aesop's fable, where you have the wind and the sun, and they're both vying to demonstrate how powerful they are. So maybe that's another sort of provocation that could come along later on, or as another provocation sort of another time.
Oh, definitely, Diane. I remember that story from school, so I'll look into that one. We looked at the length of some of our hanging mobiles. Some of them are really long, and at the bottom we attach conkers to them. So we watched them swinging in the wind and talked about, well, could they hurt someone, and the effects of the force of the wind blowing and Obviously the children are much smaller, but we created a scenario of whether Tom was working out there, would they hurt him if the wind was blowing.
Wow, that sounds really, really extraordinary. And also what you were demonstrating was that children were being empathetic in that they were actually thinking about the consequences if somebody got hurt by something that was moving, i.e. the conker and poor Tom, who might be working out in the garden.
Yeah. I think one of the other more of the unique things that we've done, Diane, linking to the weather, because that was a great interest, was we created some rain gauges using some plastic bottles that we reused, we caught, and we added rulers and measuring gauges, and the children attached them with cable ties to the water station outside. And it's provided good opportunities for the children to learn about harvesting rainwater.
But you know, what you've just been describing is, again, early literacy and numeracy. You think of the language, again, of measurement, but also the development of STEM in terms of science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And they're doing it organically because they're not actually aware that they're doing it.
Yes.
And they're doing it in their playful play. So they will be enjoying it and at the same time absorbing the wonderful learning that you're providing for them.
Yeah.
That sounds fabulous, Kate.
Yeah.
Well done.
And Diane, I'm just thinking back and reflecting. One of the other interesting conversations that we had when we developed the sensory tyres, I collected a couple of large pebbles from Bank Beach down in Crosby, and they're beautiful, all different sizes, all different colours, all different textures, but they're all part of an eroded house brick. And we made those comparisons. I explained to the children, this is the brick. How do you think it's turned into this oval shape, round shape? How has it got round edges?
And what did they say? Did they come up with any good ideas?
They couldn't answer those questions then. They didn't know. They said maybe I bought them because they'd seen them in B&Q when we went shopping. So
yes.
They didn't know it was a natural process. So
but again, it links to the wind and the sun in bringing in the water and the sea and showing how powerful the sea is. So in one sort of like conversation with children, you've managed to demonstrate the natural power of their ecological planet.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, we've booked a summer trip now to Formby Pine Wood, so as part of that we will go to the beach and look at the effects of the tide and the water coming to the shore, so we can embed that knowledge a little bit further, the force of the wind. And
how would you link to the SDGs? Are there any SDGs that you think that it might sort of fit within any of the processes that you've been talking about?
I think if we talk about climate change, SDG 13, Diane, that's the one that comes to mind to me. And also, what the energy one, Diane, is that SDG 7?
It is indeed, yes.
So we talked previously about going to see the wind turbine, so looking at the tide now, Diane.
Yeah, it is. It's really sort of, I mean, like, you're also doing SDG 15 because you're doing life on land, but you're also doing SDG 14 because you're talking about the effects of the waves. Yeah. But what you're doing from a sustainable pedagogy perspective is you're doing SDG 4, which is providing quality preschool thinking and learning, which will have an impact on SDG 3, which is their good health and well-being. Yeah. So it sounds like you've been doing a really, really fabulous project. I cannot wait to hear about your next project then, going to Formby Beach.